So good morning. I hope everyone had a wonderful holiday weekend. One of the most important jobs, I think, of the Nebraska Attorney General is to protect customers. Protecting customers is an important part of protecting our free market. The free market, I think, is one of the most powerful assets that we have in the United States. We protect customers a lot of different ways. One is by enforcing and asserting our antitrust authority. That's part of the reason we sued the 4 semi-trucks manufacturers in North Platte a couple months ago, because they were colluding together to restrict the supply of diesel-based semi-trucks. But it's also why we enforce frequently our Consumer Protection and Deceptive Trade Practices Act statutes. It's why just in the last couple of months we sued Temu. You may remember just a couple weeks ago we sued Temu, in part because they took all of this information from consumers but weren't honest about what they were taking. It's why we sued Change Healthcare. Change Healthcare made all sorts of representations to customers about how they held people's data, but then actually didn't follow through with what they told customers. It's why we've sued a number of companies in Nebraska for defrauding or being dishonest with the Nebraska companies. Today, we have filed another lawsuit. Just about 25 minutes ago, we filed a lawsuit against General Motors and OnStar that are of a piece of that consumer protection type of lawsuit. So let me tell you what they did. What these companies did, we think over the last 10 years, since about 2015, GM, when you would buy a car from GM, what they would do is they would generally take your data and they would sell it to third-party companies. Those third-party companies, in turn, would sell it to insurance companies. Those insurance companies would use the data that they received from General Motors. That data included all sorts of things, including how fast you were driving, how hard your stops were, where you went, whether you had your seatbelt, and they use that data to make decisions regarding people's insurance, both increasing people's insurance rates, but also in some cases canceling insurance rates. Now, if GM wanted to do those things, and if OnStar wanted to do those things, maybe they could do it if they disclosed it to the people buying those trucks. But they didn't do it. Here's what we know. Well, what we believe, at a minimum, is that some people were opted into this service without their consent. We think that the incentives at a lot of these dealerships were such that people were opted in even if they didn't want to be opted in. But secondly, for everyone else, they being GM, should have told the customers that they were going to use this data for this purpose that I described. Instead, they didn't. Nowhere in any of their disclosures did GM tell people that this is what they were going to do. We would have expected something that's clear and conspicuous. They didn't. They didn't do that. And in fact, what they instead did oftentimes was use emotional blackmail. They would say that this product was really necessary to help protect people's families for their own personal safety. This would not be shared with third parties except for some limited circumstances that don't apply here. And that basically this is a really important thing to be able to ensure that your family was safe going forward with their GM truck. Turned out none of that was really true. That looks like the real purpose of this data was to sell to insurance companies to be able to impact people's rates. In a world in which we have large companies and small companies being dishonest to Nebraska consumers, in a world in which insurance companies or insurance rates are going up. We know we have got an affordability crisis in the state of Nebraska and around the country. All the things that you have to have, from electricity or food or others, prices have gone up quite a bit. Insurance is a big part of it. You legally have to have insurance. We know that you can actually do what these insurance companies and what companies like GM want to do legally through consent, through notice, through disclosures. It's not what they did here. So we filed the suit this morning in Lancaster County District Court to hold GM accountable, to help protect Nebraska customers and ensure that this type of activity going forward wouldn't occur. With that, I'm happy to take any questions.